A needle going into your back was probably one of the most painful things that I've ever experienced in this life. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is preciouskif. For those of you who are new here, it's been so long since I posted a video, and I'm sorry. I had surgery, I was in hospital. What happened to me? This is a little bit like of a story time, I guess, life update, where I've been, video sort of thing. If you guys want to find out where I've been, what's been happening with me while I do my makeup, then just keep on watching. Oh my gosh, you guys, let's just get into it. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing my makeup while we chat, and I'm just gonna be telling you guys where I've been, what's been happening. Honestly, I have not filmed a video in like 5 months. The last video that I actually filmed was in May. I posted that video about 3 months ago, so I have not filmed a video in like 5 months. And when I say that out loud, it's a little bit crazy, if I'm being honest, because I definitely did not see that coming. So basically what happened is I ruptured my Achilles tendon. I will leave like a visual on the screen somewhere. But yeah, I was playing netball when it happened. It was a charity netball game that I was told about by one of my schoolmates. We went to school together, we played netball together, and so I was really excited to, you know, play this game. I played netball in the past, and we had about, I think I want to say like 8 minutes left of the game, and it really just felt like someone kicked me in my leg. Of course, because it is a game with like a lot of people on the court and whatnot, I really just thought someone kicked me. I didn't think much of it. It was really painful, I'm not gonna lie. And so after I felt the kick, I was like, that felt really weird. And so I fell to the ground, which again, at this point, I'm not thinking much of it. I'm just like, oh, that felt like a really hard kick. So I fell to the ground, tried to get back up, and I couldn't get back up, you guys. I literally couldn't get back up. I tried to get up like 3 times, and every time I had no balance at all. Your Achilles tendon is basically the tendon in your body that allows for you to stand, to walk, to run, to do all of that. And because mine snapped, I couldn't hold any weight on my body. Well, I couldn't hold my own body weight basically, and so they carried me off the court, which was so funny. Honestly, I remember thinking, wow, this is really dramatic. So they carried me off the court, and I sat courtside, and I honestly thought that I would be back on the court the next round. Like I'm telling you guys, it did not occur to me that I had snapped my Achilles. I just thought, well, someone kicked me, that was really painful, and I'm gonna be fine in like 15 minutes, right? When you snap your Achilles, your foot can't flex, so I wasn't able to flex my foot. Obviously in the moment I didn't know that was what was happening, but anytime anyone tried to touch it or ice it or whatever, I would be like, ugh. So that was not fun. And when I realized I couldn't move, one of the medics were actually like, you know what, I think you should go to the hospital, or we should call you an ambulance. And I was like, we're not calling an ambulance, okay? Like, no, I probably just need to go home and like ice my foot, put it up, I'm gonna be fine. I remember even texting my sister, and they said that via text or over the phone, but I remember telling her something feels like it's missing from my leg. Obviously that's because the tendon was no longer where it was supposed to be. I call my uncle and I tell him what happened. I'm just like, hey, I hurt myself playing netball. And he was sort of like, okay, I am not in town right now, but I can call Rema, which is my cousin. Shout out Rema. He came and picked me up, and we drove around looking for like a clinic. Again, I told you guys I was not going to the hospital. Like, that was not something that I wanted to do. I was not thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, this is so serious, let me head to the hospital at any point in all of this. I really thought that I was gonna be just fine. I remember even telling my sister, because there was something I needed to tell her. I can't remember what it was, but I remember telling her like, oh no, I'll just tell you when I get home, because I thought I was gonna head to the clinic and the doctor was just gonna be like, oh, here's some painkillers, go home, basically, right? And that's not what happened. So I got to the clinic and the doctor was like, you know what, no, we need to refer you to the hospital because this looks like it's an Achilles issue. And that was the first time that the doctor at the clinic told me that. But I think that was the moment where I was like, wow, I was not even thinking about my Achilles for a second. Like, it never occurred to me that that was the problem. Like, and I remember telling my sister, like, it's not my ankle, it doesn't feel like my ankle, it feels more so like it's my leg, but I don't know how to explain it. And then he examined it and he was like, baby, you need to go to the hospital. Okay, I was like, okay, things are a little bit serious. Of course, I'm telling my family everything that's happening, and they're just like, okay, just let us know like what they say, let us know what happens. And so at this point, my cousin is literally carrying me. He carries me into the car, we drive to the hospital, and that is when they performed what we call a Thompson test. So I did go for x-rays. They did like an x-ray just to make sure that there were no, like, any other joints were not broken or fractured or anything like that. And so after they did the x-ray, everything in the x-ray looked okay. And then what happened is the doctor had me lay on the table, on the, is it called a table? Gel. He had me lay down and he performed what we call a Thompson test, which is basically them squeezing your calf. And what needs to happen is that your foot needs to sort of jerk up and down. I will try to insert a video so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. But my leg did not do that, or my foot did not respond to the Thompson test, which basically means that I failed the test, baby. The doctors knew exactly what was wrong, and I'm very, very grateful for that. He was very cool. He told me, like, you ruptured your Achilles and you need an operation. That was exactly what he said. And I was like, I remember the first thing I said to him was, are you sure? I was like, are you sure? Can you test again? Like, is there nothing else we can do? I was terrified. That was probably the first moment in all of this that I was like, okay, this is serious. I was really not taking everything seriously up until they told me that I needed an operation. I genuinely was like, no, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be back at my apartment soon. It's gonna be fine. And it just didn't end up being fine in that moment. So he tells me, he's like, okay, so you're gonna need an operation. And after telling him, like, are you sure? Is there nothing else we can do? Can you check again? I just bursted into tears. Bless that man, but he just looked at me like, and I don't blame him. Of course, he deals with a lot of patients in a day, so I was not expecting him to like comfort me or anything like that. He's just doing his job. In that moment, another doctor walked in, and bless that doctor, I'll never forget him. Basically, he performed the test as well, and he wasn't in the room when the first doctor did the test. And so he did the test on his own, and he said the same thing. He said it was a complete Achilles tendon rupture. So you can either have like a partial tear, which means it's sort of detached but it's still hanging on. Mine completely snapped, and he was like, yeah, you're definitely gonna need an operation. We need to operate on you to fix it. I called my father and I told him exactly what happened, and my dad was like, well, if you're gonna need a surgery, then you might as well just come home, because y'all know I live alone. Somebody was just basically like, you might as well just come home, right? Which I definitely agreed with them, because there was just no point of me not like having the operation in a different city with no help, right? Got admitted into hospital that night, and I just was a wreck, you guys. Yeah, I just remember being like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe that this is happening right now. Like, why am I in this hospital? What is a tendon rupture? I didn't Google anything that night, which is so strange. Usually I will Google like everything, but I didn't Google anything. Yeah, so I got admitted to the hospital that night. I spent the night in the hospital for the first time in my life, which, I mean, I guess to some people it's just like, girl, calm down, it's just hospital. But to me, like I said, I've never had that experience before. It was a first time experience for me. I didn't enjoy it. Fast forward, so all of this happened on a Saturday. So I spent the night, Saturday night I was in hospital, and then Sunday morning I got discharged. Well, I didn't get discharged. It's basically called a refusal of treatment from the hospital that I was at. They basically just gave me a referral to a hospital here in the Free State. My sister and my brother-in-law came to pick me up from the hospital, and then Monday morning I was in a plane on my way to Bloemfontein. I'm telling you guys, I cried so much in the airport. So basically we got to the airport. Obviously I need to go and catch this domestic flight, and the distance between the parking and the domestic gates, or the boarding gates should I rather say, it's quite a distance. And obviously I never really paid attention to that because I was able to walk and run and do all of those things, but I was at this point in crutches at the airport, and it was probably one of the longest walks I've ever had to walk. I couldn't do it, so we had to wait for my brother-in-law to go over and get a oh, that's a little light, isn't it? It's okay, we'll blend it. I had to wait for my brother-in-law to go over and get a wheelchair. My sister and my brother-in-law had to push me on a wheelchair to get to the boarding gates because I just couldn't walk in the crutches. The pain, the distance, I think it finally hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I here? How am I not able to walk in the airport? An airport that I've been at several times. I had to go wait in there. There's like a section in the airport for like people who are disabled and people who, like myself, are not able to walk, I guess. And they just put you in this room where you basically wait. You don't have to wait like with everybody else. I had to wait in this room until the plane arrived, because there was like a very serious delay. I think it was like a 2-hour delay, if I'm not mistaken. And so I was like waiting in the room with like these beautiful old lady, and I'm sure she looked at me like, why is this girl so sad? Like, what is happening with her? But you guys, like I said, it finally hit me that I'm like literally prepping to go under the knife. Not being able to walk through the airport and just do things freely like I was able to in the past just didn't sit well with me. I mean, I don't think it would sit well with anyone. Of course, at that point, because I was not so clued up on exactly what the procedure would be and what it would look like, the devil was obviously putting a lot of fear in my mind and in my heart. The Lord obviously strengthened me in that moment, and I was able to, you know, just embrace what was happening. I think getting home was a bit like emotional for me, because the last time I'd seen my parents I was completely fine, and here I was coming back home with a tendon missing. Of course, it was, you know, we had to get to business because I needed to get the surgery done. We went to the hospital. The doctors once again performed the Thompson test on me, and without a doubt they were like, okay girl, you need to get this operation. I spent about 2 weeks or a week and a half in hospital prepping for surgery. My hospital experience honestly was, and I know it's so strange to say, and I definitely don't hope that I go back to hospital. Like, that is not a desire in my mind at all. I met some lovely young women who were all in there for their own reasons, which I'm not gonna discuss, but we bonded so much while we were in there. We bonded, we prayed, we laughed, you know, we were all waiting for surgery. We kind of all just, it's such a funny thing to say, but we all bonded on our pain. And it was really nice to be in a space with people who understand what you're feeling, or frustrated, who you know, have their own sort of thing going on. One of my hospital friends, her name is Felicia, we were like each other's, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to cry. Ah, I don't want to cry. Oh, I can't cry. I literally put makeup on. You guys, we were literally each other's backbones. Like, we prayed for each other, we prayed with each other. I remember there was one night specifically that I like shared the word of God with them. And prior to all of this happening, the word that God gave me was the scripture in the Bible where it says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. On the day that this incident happened, I read that scripture. Little did I know that it would be the scripture that would carry me throughout this whole journey. Why this was so important was because I didn't know what to expect. I've never been in a hospital, I've never had surgery done before, and so I had to keep on reminding myself that God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And it's so important to have a sound mind while you're in the hospital, you guys, because the things that I've seen, the things that I heard, it's just something that I don't wish on anyone. Being in that space where people are like in so much pain and screaming and crying and all of that, it's not easy, because you're just like, is that gonna be me? Am I gonna be screaming and crying? You get what I'm saying? Which I did. I just had to pray every day, I had to be in my word every day, I had to do everything to keep my mind sane. The calm that God gave me throughout like this whole ordeal was really beyond understanding. I had a lot of peace on the day that I had my surgery, because I had just given it over to God. I was like, listen, God, you know I love being active, you know I love going to the gym, shoot, you know I love my legs. I'm gonna need you to come through for me, and I'm gonna need you to have this surgery go well. I just want to say there's so much importance in having people around you that can pray for you and that can stand in the gap for you when you may not necessarily be in the best shape. It's something that I will never take for granted at all. So on surgery day, like, the nurse comes in and, you know, she's like, okay, so you're gonna, you know, get your scrub. It's not scrubs, why would I say scrubs? The nurse comes in, and mind you, I couldn't have anything to eat the night before, so they did come in and tell me like, okay, by I think it was midnight, we cannot have any more food or water. And then suddenly I was so thirsty and hungry. But the nurse comes in the next day and they're like, okay, you know, you're about to have your procedure done. Basically come in and they give me like my hospital or my theater gear, and they give me my theater gear and they're like, okay, put this on, this is what you're gonna wear. You know, if you've ever had surgery or been in hospital, you know what I'm talking about, the little outfit they give you to put on. I'm just using my Elizabeth Arden 8-hour cream. This stuff is the truth and nothing but the truth. The nurse comes in and she's like, okay, we're just gonna get you ready for theater. They put me on the little like rolly bed. Sorry y'all, I don't know the technical terms for everything, but they put me on the little bed and they roll me into theater. And I just got in there and I was like looking around at like all the machines and all the things. I was like, oh my god, Lord, take the wheel, which he did, thankfully. So I get into the room and I sit on they transfer me over to the bed. One of the doctors look at me and she's like, okay, so have you ever had spinal before? I'm like, spinal? What's spinal? I've never had that before. And she's like, okay, so it's just something that we're going to inject into your back to numb you from the waist down. So mind you, all this time I'm not thinking that they're gonna do the numbing thing. I'm thinking that I'm gonna be put to sleep. They're gonna be doing all of this while I'm asleep. I was like, so am I gonna be awake during this procedure? She's like, you're gonna be awake. I was like, oh my god. I was like, Jesus, please, Lord, please. So they lay me down and yeah, and the surgeon just got to work. And what's so weird is that the it's such a weird sensation. I don't know how to explain it to you, but first of all, the needle going into your back was probably one of the most painful things that I've ever experienced in this life. It was more painful than the injury itself. 2 really thick needles in the back of your spine. They obviously want you to stay really still because, I mean, God forbid, but like, things can go wrong if you move or if they inject it into the wrong place or whatever the case. And so I was very much like screaming, and bless the doctors and the nurses, they were just really there like, you know, calm down, it's gonna be fine, like, don't worry, just sit still, da da da. I was like, Lord, please. And so they injected, and then basically what happens is that liquid or whatever it is, doctors comment down below, it numbs your body from the waist down so that the doctor can obviously do what, or the surgeon can do what he's supposed to do. I actually had a doctor sit with me like at my leg, so I was laying on my stomach and he was working on my leg at the back, right? And there was a nurse or a doctor sitting with me, and she was like talking to me because they had me plugged up to like a whole bunch of things to like monitor my heart rate and all of those things, and she's like sitting there and she's chatting to me while the surgery is happening. And so I can feel like it's like I can't feel pain, but I can feel like something is happening on my leg. It's such a weird sensation. And she kept telling me like, if you feel any pain, you should definitely let us know. I'm like, well, I hope I don't feel any pain, because thankfully I had no pain. And she was just chatting to me. She asked me what happened. I explained it to her. And honestly, the procedure was probably about like an hour and a half, maybe 2. And I spent a lot of that time praying. I'm very grateful that I was awake. Low-key. When the procedure was done, I got rolled out of the theater. I had like some very serious shivers, which is like, it's a side effect of the medicine. Sorry about that, you guys. My mom walked into the room. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh, I had like extreme shivers, so they had to like monitor me for like, I think it was like 30 minutes. They just monitored me outside the theater to make sure that I was fine, but everything seemed to be really okay. Like my heart rate was fine, all the vitals were just as they should have been, which we thank God for. And then yeah, then I was brought to my room. Still couldn't feel anything, couldn't feel my legs, couldn't feel, like, from the waist down it was completely numb. And I guess during the surgery it was like okay, because I didn't want to feel the pain of him cutting and everything like that. But I think the after was just brutal. Doctor actually told me it's very similar to getting it's very similar to an epidural. You cannot feel anything, can't move your legs, can't do nothing. But it was very brutal just being in my room and not being able to like even move my healthy leg. I was not able to move either, which was very frustrating. I had my surgery around maybe like 9-10 in the morning, and the numbing feeling in my body only started to wear off at like maybe 5-6, and this was the night I thought I was going to die, literally. Once the meds wore off, you guys, it was hell. I just couldn't. The pain was so, and I want to say unbearable, but I bore it, obviously. It was such extreme unbearable pain. I really thought that I was gonna die. Not everybody feels the way I felt, but when the pain meds wore off, it was probably the hardest thing after getting the spinal injection. Like like that was worse than the injury itself. I remember one of the nurses, he was the best. He was like the best nurse ever. He kept on coming in to check on me, giving me like medication. I was obviously I had a drip, so they would like pump the meds into the drip, of course, and I was in so much pain that they gave me something that was super strong, and it just made me delusional, for a lack of better words. I'm trying to find the words to explain exactly how I felt, but it really, like, I thought I was gonna die. I don't know how else to explain it. It's an internal feeling, a physical feeling. I remember praying. I played my whole worship playlist front to back like 3 times. I fell asleep with my phone like on the bed, it was just, listen, probably died, whatever. I slept I didn't feel when I fell asleep. I don't remember how the night went. I had no recollection of anything. Like it was just the weirdest feeling ever. You know, from what I've heard and what I've seen and the research I've done, it's the medicine that they gave me that made me super delusional and just like not myself at all. I remember actually calling my mom and being on the phone with her and just telling her like I couldn't do this anymore. And it's a bit hard to like relay the story. If you've ever experienced something similar, then you'll probably know exactly what I mean. But yeah, I woke up the next morning. The spinal injection was sort of still there but not really, so I was able to like move my left leg and etc. And yeah, after 2 days, no, a day after that, I was discharged from the hospital and I was able to come home, and that was when my official recovery started. I had my stitches removed after 2 weeks. I was in a cast for 6 weeks, and then yeah, I don't want to get into recovery too much because I could make a separate video all about recovery because that's a different ball game. It was a bit hard in the beginning. You know, getting around, I hated leaving the house. I didn't want to leave the house because it was difficult to leave the house. Around in a cast is not cute, you guys, and uncomfortable. It was just uncomfortable. Like I didn't like it. So I did spend a lot of time at home. I spent a lot of time reading. I spent a lot of time watching YouTube, watching series, spending time with God. This time honestly was like the best, or has been the best time in my relationship with God. I feel like a completely different person. I see life so much differently now, and sometimes you do have to go through the hard things to realize that, you know, life is really fragile. Like anything can happen. Like I've been dealing with it. God's been helping me tremendously. That's basically like a gist of what's been happening with me. What else could I tell you guys? I don't know what else to say, but yeah, I've definitely missed YouTube. I've missed filming so much. My mind and my focus was definitely on like healing and getting better, so I've definitely made a lot more progress. I'll definitely make a video on how I'm doing now, perhaps just speaking more about the injury in like particularly, just for anybody who might be interested, because yeah, I know I watched a few videos while I was recovering and they really helped me a lot. So yeah, you guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are happy to see me back on your screens. I've missed you guys so much. I really do want to get back into filming content now that I'm feeling a little bit better. Yeah, I hope you guys like my makeup. I sort of finished my makeup really quickly. If you guys have any questions for me, please do let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys would like to see from me. I am like still, you know, easing into things a little bit, but let me know what videos you guys would like to see. Follow me on my social media. Follow me on TikTok. That's where I'm probably the most active. Instagram is like if you want to like interact with me in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.